Hello. I am so excited because in this video I will be sculpting a DIY vessel mask from the band Sleep Token a few different ways, a few different times. And I will also be listening to and reacting to their brand new album, Even in Arcadia, for the very first time in this video. This will come as a surprise to some of you because every time I post something and I use a Sleep Token song on Instagram, you guys are always like, Mikey, you like Sleep Token? I have news for you. I don't just like Sleep Token. I love Sleep Token. They are literally my favorite band. They have been ever since I heard Take Me Back to Eden. The Summoning was the first song I ever heard. I remember exactly where I was when I heard it for the first time. Take Me Back to Eden is my favorite song ever, period, point blank. I've only seen them live once, but for me, that's actually saying a lot because I don't really like going to concerts. So if I go to a concert, it's because I really like someone's music and I know a lot of their music. They are amazing live. If you're watching this video and you're like, what is a Sleep Token? They're a completely faceless, anonymous band of a bunch of really talented, I think all British men. I think. But who really knows? I don't. No matter what genre of music you like, just stop, do yourself a favor, and go listen to them. Whatever genre you like, you're gonna find that genre somewhere in their music. And they are just, I just love them. And they also have a whole bunch of lore, if you're into that. I actually don't follow the lore, admittedly. I'm here for the vibes and music. But yeah, go give them a listen, and then you come back here. When I first found out that they were releasing a new album in the beginning of May, I thought, okay, I'm gonna make a DIY vessel mask, something I've been wanting to do for a long time anyway, and I'll time it so that it comes out right at the same time as the album, and I'll film my reaction to listening to the album for the first time ever. And I don't know if you've noticed what day today is when I'm uploading this, but it's been weeks since Even in Arcadia came out. And let me tell you, I am extremely dedicated to the cause. I have not listened to a single song off the new album that was not released first as a single. So I think I only know 3 of the songs, but all the new ones that released on May 8th, never heard them. And the lengths I've had to go to make sure I avoid any of them, I literally, please forgive me, it's sacrilege to say, but I even muted Sleep Token's social accounts to make sure I did not accidentally hear any of the songs early. I cannot wait to unmute them. It feels wrong. I have a long time lapse of me making this mask, so I'll intersperse my reactions with the time lapse, and we're gonna make a DIY vessel mask. Vessel is the lead singer of the band, and because they're faceless and anonymous, they're always wearing masks. This is the one that he wore for most of Take Me Back to Eden in the tour for that. Granted, I know that he has a newly colored mask for Even in Arcadia. It's dark green and gold. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a bit of a color theme going on the shelves behind me. Everything is red, black, and white on my shelves, and seeing as Vessel's Take Me Back to Eden mask is red, white, and black, and seeing as I can't imagine loving any album more than that one, we'll see. I decided to stick with that mask and those colors, but if you wanted to make the Even in Arcadia related mask, you could just change the colors. It's basically the same thing. I'll be honest, one of the hardest things I've ever done. It's not my best, but you know what? We made it work. And it only took 3 different attempts of 3 different methods to get there. Okay, let's do it. So as you can see here, we started out with high hopes. I used my actual life cast so that the mask would fit my face perfectly. I was going about it the fancy way. I used my red sculpting clay. It's most pliable when you heat it up. You can be pretty precise with it. This is how I've sculpted most prosthetics that I've made by hand on this channel. So I didn't think it would do me dirty. However, I didn't think this through. So I started out by giving myself a flat mask type base. The plan was always to do this one in latex layers. I'm not going to do a full-on mold, negative, positive situation because I did it for my final Next Face Awards video, but I've never done it for a tutorial because I always want to keep things really accessible for you guys, and honestly, I don't think making a whole mold of a head is accessible for most people. I love the latex layering method, so that was my plan going into attempt 1. Straight lines are not my forte, I learned through this process, but I tried my damnedest. I cut out the eyes, I tried to cut it out as deep as possible so that when we do the latex, it's easy to just cut them out. I made them concave initially so that they were easy to see, but then I ended up building it on top of that because I figured if I'm doing latex layers, I'm gonna want some separation to show up amongst the layers, some height difference. I didn't really need to do this for this part of the mask because if you look at reference pictures of his actual mask, his is just painted on a flat surface, but I was feeling extra and I literally wasted days of my life being extra for something that didn't end up panning out at all. It's fine, it's fine. This is fine. I'm nervous. Oh my God, I'm so excited. No, I don't want new music right now. I'm listening to new music right now. Are you insane? Look to Windward in 3, 2, 1. got 8-bit vibes.
Listen, just as my form starts to
Getting goosebumps.
will you hold this eclipse in me?
I will halt any eclipse you want, sir. Let's go. That classic sleep token. This reminds me of their earlier albums, so that makes me happy. I love how cinematic the music is. It's so atmospheric and grand and moody. Oh, already amazing. I don't always like songs on a first listen, and I'll learn to love them. I love this one on a first listen. That's pretty. You see my face? I can't stop smiling.
I've got eyelids heavy enough to break diamonds. You pray for sound, I'm not brave for
we got the rap. This is vibey.
Fall to the floor. You know I live by the feather and die by the sword.
Ooh, his lyrics are so good.
You used to know me well.
Vessel sounds so depressing.
Oh, and I wish that I could leave myself alone.
It's so good.
Make me
I love it. I love this one. This is a repeat one. This is a repeat one, for sure. My face hurts from smiling. It's the first song. Oh my god. Double bass. Oh my god. Oh my lord. First one down. Holy shit. Doing these lines truly was like unlike anything I've ever sculpted before, that's for sure. Definitely outside of my comfort zone. It was a challenge. I enjoyed it, but it was a learning curve. Then I gave Vessel a beard, a clay beard. He still looks good. Still looks good. And then I trimmed his beard down a little bit, made it nice and flat, and then I started to both add clay on top of that in little swirls and also dig into our existing beard base to create the very, very intricate, detailed, swirly pattern on the lower half of the mask. I was using reference pictures this whole time. His mask is not fully symmetrical, but it generally is. The swirls are pretty tiny, they're pretty intricate. Now, it was around this time that it occurred to me, this is probably too detailed to do a latex layering situation. Anytime I've done this method in the past, it's for more or less a general shape that doesn't require having a lot of sharp, detailed areas. This is the exact opposite of that, and I knew, I kind of knew that this was not going to work, that this needed to be made in a proper mold. However, sunk cost fallacy. I had already spent several days on this. I wasn't about to quit now. Decided to see it through and waste several more days of my time, which is why the sunk cost fallacy is a fallacy. And we eventually got to the latex layering. I did several layers. I knew within the first layer, this is not gonna work. It was losing all the detail because obviously it's gonna sink most into all of the indented places and it's gonna start to even out all of the height differences. I did make the height differences pretty significant, hoping that that would be enough. It was not enough, but for science, I did the latex layering anyway. Would you like to see the final result of attempt 1? Oatmeal vessel? Oatmeal vessel. She's crusty. Like, it looks like someone kind of threw up and it ended up looking a little bit like Vessel. It's not great. It's not the vibe. So, attempt 2. All right, the second one's Emergence. I already know this one, but I'm still gonna listen to it. Gotta get the whole experience. Emergence in 3, 2, 1. This is a good example of a song I didn't actually love at first. It had to grow on me, but it has grown on me.
You know that it's time to
Sorry, you did not come here for this.
Oh,
Me complimenting his lyricism and then being like, what?
Right through your lenses. Midnight in my
This part. Kenny G moment. The careless whisper in me just loves this. That one was a grower on me, but it has grown. Here's the thing about attempt 2. I went to a craft store. I was trying to find string that would work well for the mask, and what I ended up doing is just buying a very cheap, like $2 mask that had the proper elastic string with the little metal clasps on the end. So here's a mask that I had just for the string. Once I realized that my latex layered life cast sculpt was not the way to do this, I decided, okay, what if I sculpt again from the start, but this time I sculpt on a real mask that's already got structure to it, and I make all of the shapes with cotton and latex, something that I've done a million times on this channel. My concern with this was that the mask is very detailed, as discussed, and I didn't think I would be able to get the level of symmetrical, sharp detail with just cotton and latex. However, I was willing to try because I didn't want to not do this video, and I couldn't think of any other way to do it. So it begins. I cut the chin off of this mask. This attempt didn't last long, I'll tell you that. It was looking like a creepy baby doll at this point. I started to put down liquid latex, lay down cotton, cover the cotton in more latex. I started with the eyes because I felt like if I couldn't get the eyes right, I wouldn't be able to get any of this right, because in theory, that shape and that manipulation should be the easiest part of it. But then when my X-Acto knife would not cut through for the smaller little spider eyeballs at the bottom, and when I resorted to using my kitchen scissors to just cut along the side of the face to make the hole for the eyes, thinking that I could just patch the side back together with more cotton and latex, and when it dries, it'll be reinforced and it'll be fine, I realized very quickly this option also not gonna work at all. It looked really bad. In fact, let's just stop talking about this one. All right, the next one, past self. Never heard this one before. 3, 2, 1.
Are you gonna dance on the line with me? You know it's not a game or a fantasy. People acting different. One look at my past self, double taking my cash flow, apologizing for shit that frankly I stopped thinking of years ago. And you know I deliberate.
Poor guy's going through it. So bubbly.
Torn apart by the true believers who turned out to be fake. You're gonna dance.
Ooh, that line.
With me. You know it's not a game or a fantasy. Now are you gonna dance on the line with me?
It's very poppy, but I like it. It's so like delicate with the music, but the lyrics are so sad. Poor Vessel. He had a lot to say on this one. So no breakdown in this one. That's okay. See, they just do whatever they want. I love that. They said we want to make a pop song, we're just gonna make a straight up pop song. That's good. It was at this point that I sat down on the couch and I gave up. But very angrily. I had wasted an entire week of work sculpting the first one, and I felt like I was out of options, and it was pretty late at night, and I was like, shit, I already promised everyone on Instagram that I was making this video, and you guys have been so excited about it in my DMs. Like, we got a lot of Sleep Token fans in the zombie community, and I love that for us, so I didn't want to let you down. So out of pure rage, right after attempt number 2 failed, I was like, you know what, let me try one more thing. I have one more thing that might work. I don't think it's gonna work because I don't really like using this type of clay. However, I had nothing to lose. At this point, I was ready to just give up on the video entirely. And I'd rather quit knowing that I truly tried everything I could think of. So, as a last ditch effort, I decided to use the mask that I had already mutilated. It was already structurally really messed up. Honestly, if I knew that this was going going to be the method that I went with, I would probably have set it all up a little bit better, differently, but I didn't know that this was gonna work. I honestly figured it wasn't gonna work. So I did what anyone would do, and I just smashed a bunch of tin foil on top of the mask to fill in that negative space where it dips and there's a little nose, because Vessel's mask does not have a cute little button nose. So I needed to even that out so that when I put clay on top of it, it would be smooth, you know? Then I used packing tape to tape that onto the mask and then to tape the mask onto my workspace. Here's where I did not think things through. Yet again. I feel like it's good to talk about my failures. You need to know. Sometimes it's a freaking process. I was in such a rush to just get some clay on there, start working, see if this is even remotely doable, that I didn't even stop to think about a release agent for this one. I didn't think about if it would come off of this surface. I think I kind of assumed in the back of my mind that it would, because it's just really glossy packing tape, and what could it possibly stick to? Don't make that mistake. Look, my recommendation at the end of all of this is going to be, don't DIY a vessel mask. Just don't. I'll tell you why at the end, but this product is not for the faint of heart, okay? You better really love Vessel to go through this, and I do, so worth it. But you'll see I run into a whole new set of issues because I did not use a proper release agent. Dangerous is the next one. Let's listen. 3, 2, 1.
I wish I could have known that look in your eyes would echo in mine and go.
It's already so catchy. This is like a ballad. I like it. That electronic beat is like brooding. Oh, his voice is so pretty. And he found his calling. Good for him. Aww. These lines. Okay, I like this beat. I like it. Do it. It's like a sexy metal ballad. Yes, the atmosphere. I gotta turn it up, hold on. That's a pretty one. I'm gonna say that about all of them. That was really pretty. Vessel in a State of Limerence is like my favorite Vessel. He knows how to write lyrics that are just so... His lyrics are so intense. They're so good. Wow, I like that one a lot. Alas, I started sculpting using what is called paper clay. It is air drying clay, so the way that you keep it malleable is to basically keep wetting it with water. It's extremely messy. It's basically like paper mache without the paper part. It's all mache. And the problem with it is I've used it to sculpt little things in the past, never big things. I'm talking like I've used it to sculpt teeth in the past. I've used it to sculpt a thumb in the past. I have never used it for something this big. Even if it's not fully dry, it'll take a day or two to fully dry. But even when it's not fully dry, after like 10 minutes of you not keeping it saturated, it starts to get hard enough that it's really hard to manipulate. It's tough to get, at least in my opinion. If you work with this stuff all the time, you might have a much easier time with it, but I don't use it that often to be able to tackle something as big as this. For me, I find it hard to get very precise details with this clay because the working time is so limited. And compared to the red clay from the first attempt, I find it much harder to move it in the way that I need it to get precise details. So I already knew that it was not going to be as good of a sculpt as the first one, but at this point, I just wanted anything that would pass for the mask. So as you can see, I cut out all of our little spider eyeballs. I started doing the intricate pattern on the bottom. I decided I was not going to attempt to build out the actual straight lines from the top half of the mask like I did in the first sculpt. That took me a lot of time in the first one. It wasn't really necessary because, like I said, his is actually just painted on a flat surface of the mask. The only part that's actually built up is the lower half. So that's what I decided to do to preserve my sanity. I basically spent more time on the very front pieces to try to make them look as close to the mask as I could. And then once it came to the sides, since you'd focus on them less, I basically just added layers of clay and then I carved into them and kind of like, as if it's like the frosting on a cake, I used my little sculpting tools to, you know, really technical terms here. And I did that until they were somewhat similar looking. It's definitely not symmetrical. The overall face of the mask is lumpy, and a big part of that is because can I cut out the eyeballs before this dries? Can I start adding to this before it dries? Because everything was a race against the clock. Once I sat down to do this, I did not get back up. I didn't drink water. I didn't go to the bathroom. I did nothing because I didn't want to risk that this dried on me while I still needed to either sculpt and carve into it or add onto it. You can re-wet things. You can kind of add onto it, but I didn't want to risk it because I had been through too much already. Then I let it dry for basically 2 days. I baked it in the sun, as you can see here. She needs a tan. But I noticed on this day that I let it sunbathe that if I tried to pull it off, because, you know, the edges were already dry. It was the underneath that I knew wasn't dry. If I tried to pull it off, it didn't want to come off. And then I thought, oh great, I finally got something that is maybe usable, and it's gonna be stuck to this messed up mask that's all cut up with tin foil behind the eyes forever. Great. Or I'll try to get it off and I will literally break it in half. And then I will cry. I will simply cry. I believed in my heart of hearts that if I let it fully dry, that it might pop off easier, because I was sticking my palette knife underneath of there and wiggling it around, and it felt like the more dry it was, the easier it was, but also the scarier it was because it was quite fragile, and it's basically like stone, but like flaky stone. And I was hoping that tomorrow I'd be able to just pop it off once it's fully dry in one piece. So the next day I very carefully did that. Oh my god, did we get away with it? Oh my god, I think we got away with it. Yes! Caramel, next. I love this one. Loved it instantly. I've probably listened to it thousands of times already. So let's just have a dance party. The lyrics of this one, oof, so sad. This part right here. Oh, it gives me goosebumps every time. I thought I got better, but maybe I didn't. If caramel can be topped, I'll be surprised. My voice is cracking. I am a teenage boy. Luckily, disaster was averted. I got it off in a single piece. I am still shocked, honestly, because especially this bottom part is very thin and very fragile. I tried my best to make it thick enough that it wouldn't break in half easily, but also thin enough that it wasn't really heavy. And I didn't want the mask to be like, huh. But whatever, it was in one piece. I was so happy. I thought, okay, there might be a lot of things I want to fix about it, but we have something. It's usable. It's gonna look like the mask. Let's finish it with a paint job. I was literally so happy. You have no idea. No idea. I did trim the edges of it a little bit that were rough, but I didn't do too much because honestly, like I said, this stuff is so fragile. I did not want to risk trying to take off 1 millimeter and I snap off 3 inches. It's definitely a little rough, but it is what it is. It is DIY to the max. I took off the strings on our first mask as intended, and I strung them through little holes that I had already planned into the sides of our paper clay sculpt. I realized that those sides are probably too thin, that once I put the mask on, I'd probably snap right through the small space between the back of the mask and the string, so I did reinforce that at this point with more clay. I hope that was a good decision. I still don't know because I've been too afraid to try the mask on still fully, properly. I've held it up, but I have not put it all around my head. I'm gonna wait till the very end of this video to do that just in case. And anyway, yes, this is what it looked like unpainted. Next up, Even in Arcadia, the name of the album. I have high hopes for this one, purely for the illogical reason that the name of the last album ended up being my favorite song in the entire world. Let's see if they can do it again. 3, 2, 1. Oh, party. It's like magical wind chimes from sexy metal men. It's a very satisfying sound. Pretty. Ooh, I'm a sucker for pretty piano. I really am.
'Cause I have paid my penance kindly, wedding time.
The way he said kindly. How does his voice keep getting better? Ooh, the high note. Getting hot listening to this. I'm so happy this album is cinematic. They said it. So very moody. Guttural vessel? Bud, are you okay? Ooh. Am I okay? Wow, that's so pretty! What is that? Is that a cello? I am not a music person, but that is so beautiful. This sounds like movie soundtrack music. Oh, that's the end. Ooh, I thought they were about to break it down. Oh, that was so pretty. On to the paint part. The first thing that I had to do was draw out my lines for all of the straight lines on the top half of the mask. This part was pretty hard, especially because my mask is lumpy. She's not fully symmetrical. The eyes are not fully symmetrical and at the exact right height. And so I'm just kind of eyeballing it, and I used a soft tape measurer to be able to roughly lay down straight lines. But I had to kind of keep finagling the angle of the line to make it appear straight to your eye. Take your time with this part is my point. Sorry, my head's in the way for a lot of these time lapses. I was concentrating and I just followed a reference picture to get all of the lines down. And then we started painting. I chose to use acrylic paint. I thought initially I was going to be using FX paints for this, but I thought that when I was dealing with my oatmeal latex mask. Now that we're dealing with a clay that changes with its water saturation and content, I decided that any water-based or even alcohol-activated based paints probably not the right thing to mess with. So I just used acrylic paint that I had. It helped the colors come out really vibrant and strong. A little less room for error, but I really took my time with this part too. Okay, provider. In 3, 2, 1.
I wanna be a provider.
Okay, that won't stop you.
Gonna you with silk like a spider. Roll or die, you bet I'm a rider.
That's what she said.
You're a secret insider. Your guiding hand, your final decider.
Sounds a little sexual.
Stoke your desire. Just let me know that you're mine.
Steamy vessel. We have found the baby making music song of the album. Oh, vessel's down bad. He did not just say good girl. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I feel like I'm blushing listening to this one. My goodness. Well, this one has not been subtle at all. Well, He just bothered a lot of people with that one. And I took my sweet ass time until we got this, which much better than trying to sculpt it out in 3D. Would recommend. I also painted these little tiny spikes that he has at the bottom of his mask. They're like little gold fangs. Mine are definitely really rough, but it's the pointiest I could get them without worrying they were gonna break right off. I painted them gold. There is technically more gold on the swirly parts of his mask, little like highlights here and there, but I actually wanted to keep it as red, white, and black as I could, so I chose to only put gold on those little fangs. Then I painted the entire bottom half of our mask with all the swirly details, the same color red as a base. And initially I thought that I was going to leave the mask its natural color as is because it dries so close to white. It's an off-white, but it dries so close to white that I didn't figure it would make a big difference. And then I realized that the pencil that I used to draw all of my lines, I don't own a single eraser. I don't own an eraser. And this was in the middle of the night, and I decided nothing is going to slow me down at this point. I am not waiting for an eraser. I have white paint, so my method to erasing the lines was to paint over it with white paint. Honestly, it was a good decision. It popped so much more with the bright white, so I'm glad that I did. It allowed me to clean up some of my red lines a little bit more, but yeah, that's what I'm doing here. Look at how pretty she looks. Damocles, next. I love this one already, therefore it shall be a dance party.
From outer space in seconds to me. No one else knows that I've got a problem. Wake up alone and I'll be forgotten.
Never, bud.
No one else knows that I've got a problem. What if I can't get up and stand tall? What if the dawn and days are all gone? And who will I be when the empire falls? Wake up alone and I'll be forgotten.
I'm tired. And then the last step was to go in on the bottom half swirly parts with a black acrylic paint. I diluted this black paint most of the time to give me a not so harsh of a black and not such harsh lines. And I basically just tried to sink it into all of the lower parts of the sculpt to give it that depth and to have all of the shapes pop. I don't think that this clay is particularly easy to paint on because it's hard to get this clay completely smooth, and any little roughness in the clay, when you paint it, you're gonna, you miss all of the little spots. So I had to use very heavy amounts of paint to make sure I was covering everything. It was a very back and forth process. Unlike FX paints, water activated paints, alcohol activated paints, where you can kind of layer it really easily, I feel like this is a different kind of layering that I was adjusting to, but we got there. Then I took some black mesh, which I actually had as drawer liners in my computer desk because the black mesh that I bought at the craft store was not nearly dark enough. Another problem. So I used what I had in my drawer. I cut out little shapes. I used my glue that I used for my rhinestones to just glue it to the back of the eyes. And then I just went back in and I did some final touch-ups, detail work. I tried to make sure that everything was dry in between colors because I didn't want to do some detail work with the white against the red lines and then end up with streaks of pink or end up with streaks of gray when I was doing the black detail work. So it was a lot of layering, waiting, drying, layering, waiting, drying to get to this point. I added some little dots and details on the sides of the mask that I could see in his reference photos, but I took a little creative liberty because at this point, I've taken a lot. And about that point, it was all done. Gethsemane? Gethsemane. Sure. In 3, 2, 1.
Wanted you to know I've learned to live without it.
Whenever he sings really high like that, it reminds me of the earlier albums. The man's got range.
Except if you were wasted.
Aw, that's so sad.
I was your robot companion.
Clappy claps? Oh. Oh.
I'm called upon the person to try to turn myself into for you.
Oh, this is interesting. This reminds me of early 2000s pop rock.
What might be good for your heart might not be good for my head.
Those lines. Oh.
What was there in this
How does it keep doing it? How does it keep doing it? What can't they do? He went from baby making music to this. Jeez Louise. Oh, bud. There's still a lot of song left. What's it gonna be? Ooh, that music, that sexy low tone. What is that? Man, that's catchy. I'm sorry, I'm not saying much. I'm just so intently listening. Nothing to lose, but I would have given anything to get closer to you and all your enemies. I've got a few of my own, and this bone didn't come with a gun, so I got a different energy. How does he come up with this? I still don't know how to say the name of the song, but I really like that one. Man, they're just so. That one's gonna be one of the first I re-listen to. Huh. Here's the final mask. And in person, I am so afraid to touch this thing. I will hold it up to my face. I'm not putting it on yet because I'm scared. Isn't she beautiful? Ooh. Ah. Yes, be impressed. Please. It only took 3 attempts. I will do the full blackout of the chin and neck, hood up. I'll do the whole thing at the end. I'm afraid to do it until everything has been filmed because she is so very fragile. I kind of want to bedazzle her. Maybe I'll do it next year. I would say it's a slight improvement from this one. Slightly. And as I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't recommend DIYing this yourself. Instead, you can get them 3D printed and buy them for like $50 off Etsy. Yep, you can just do that and they will be precise and exact, and this is why we're all gonna be out of a job. I have been outdone by a 3D printer, and I'm not afraid to admit it. But were those printed with love the way this was sculpted with love 3 times? No, maybe. What the? I got plaster on my face. See? They're flaky, just like everyone in Los Angeles. I digress. Okay, we only have 1 track left. It's called Infinite Baths, and it's 8.5 minutes long. I have a feeling they're gonna close out the album in an epic fashion. So let's start Infinite Baths in 3, 2, 1. That pretty 8-bit sound again. Pretty. It's giving me goosebumps. Big anthem vibes. I do love the second half of a Sleep Token song that starts out like this. Lots of layers, very pretty. I assume they're building up to something real big. Ooh. Brought it back. I love when they do that. All I can do is dance. Let's go. Woo! It's not done. This is giving me Dream Theater vibes. I love it. Is it gonna fade out for 30 seconds? Oh my god, it is. Well, well, well. Wow, okay, that was the whole album. First listen down. I am so pleasantly surprised. I had high hopes, but they still blew me away, and I'm really currently regretting not buying tickets to their current tour before the tickets were all $1,300 each. So, shit. I would love to see this live. Whoops. Yeah, wow, that was beautiful. I can't wait to listen to it again. I can't wait to get to know the songs. I think if I had to pick one new song that I liked the most off of the album, just on a first listen, I'm either gonna say Look to Windward or Dangerous. Those are my top two. But now that I've listened to all of them, I'm not sure I remember them. I just remember really liking them on a first listen. Damn, they're so good. But I really, truly liked them all. What's it like to be God's favorite band? The lyrics are always amazing in Sleep Token songs, but they really poured their hearts out in this one, and I just can't say enough good things. I loved it. I loved it. You guys are right. You all told me that I was gonna love it. You were right. Nothing left to do but risk messing up my mask by finally putting it on properly. Don't break, moment of truth. Please don't break on my face. It was no accident. Hey, it worked! I'm so glad! It's functional. It's wearable. It's actually pretty comfortable. I look like Vessel. How cool. Ha! We did it. Never give up on your dreams. You can get there eventually. Third time's a charm. Okay, bye.